Why I Started My Last Days, a show about living told by the dying. So again, it's like a little bit of a darker topic, but he's just so intelligent and well spoken. And so I thought, why not wrap up today with just a little bit from Justin Baldoni. I don't know if you guys have seen this one. This is from 6 years ago. So it says, while we're all afraid to talk about it, we all have a desire to learn about dying. This is what Justin Baldoni quickly learned after launching My Last Days, a show about living told by the dying. As it turns out, sometimes all we need is a reminder that to live beautifully is a choice, and it's always available regardless of our circumstances. This reminds me of a book I have. I wonder if Justin Baldoni's read this book. I bet he has. Die Wise, but it reminds me a lot of that. Die Wise by Stephen Jenkinson. It's a great book, by the way. Okay. Let's watch a little bit. It's like a little bit of an existential, spiritual way to wrap up today.
I appreciate it. But I have a very special message that I just felt called to bring to you all today. And where's the camera? And you, if you're watching this, I just want you guys all to know that you are going to die. Thank you all for having me. I appreciate it. Isn't it interesting how normally in a different group of people that statement is negative? It's like an insult. It's the worst thing you could probably say to somebody, especially somebody young. You're going to die. Instead of it being an absolute truth, like you're an audience, or there's gravity, or you are a human being, right? It's literally one of the only things that is an absolute truth in our entire life. Except we, for some reason, have designed our lives in a way where we run away from it. We're afraid of it. It's scary. So much so that I believe we have designed our lives in a way that we distract ourselves to the point where we just spend our lives trying to forget that one day this is going to happen to us. Even though we know, because all of us have been touched by it, that eventually it happens.
So I just have to pause to do commentary on it for fair use. It's such a profound conversation. Again, if you're looking for a book that touches on this as well, it's Die Wise. And Stephen Jenkinson, I believe, if I remember correctly, it's been a while since I've read it, but he worked with the dying. I can't remember, though. What I mean is I can't remember is if he was a social worker or a therapist within the role, but he worked with the dying, and essentially his work was like what he learned from those that are dying.
So we have this culture, right? We're culturally afraid to talk about death. Death is taboo. Hence why it's such a, it's a nice intimate gathering here. If this were something else, we could be in, a huge 30,000 seat auditorium. But the forward thinkers, those of you guys who are willing to be comfortable in the uncomfortable, gather here today to talk about this because it is such an important part of our conversation that we're not having. We should be open and willing to confront our mortality. And what I want to talk about today is how, in doing that, for me, it's helped me live a better life, and how I believe that if we can learn to be comfortable in the uncomfortable, like all of you, that maybe we can, maybe the talk of our mortality can actually influence the way we live. I also find it interesting, I'm in the entertainment business. Just look at the way we've been socialized in entertainment as a whole. I mean, look at how.
The fascinating thing for me is people that just, and I'm newer to Justin Baldoni, admittedly. I am newer to him. And you hear sometimes people that are newer to him. I dove into all of his work after I found out who he was, but say like, oh, it's performative, or he's just talking about this because it's like trendy to talk about or whatever. He's just building a brand around it. He's been talking about this. This is 6 years ago. He's just living proof of what he believes. He lives it. He walks it. He talks it. it's from the inside out. And, you know, I really hope people that still think that maybe his Man Enough brand is performative are willing to do deep dives on him and understand his background.
How we view death in media, right? Like there's an entire sector of the film market that makes billions of dollars, that makes money off of all the just different glorified ways that people can die horrible deaths by psychopaths. Like, it's a genre film, right? People go see these genre movies where they sit for an hour and a half and they watch horrendous things happen to people. But then they never stop for a second and think, well, what if that was me? Or someone I care about, or my mom, or my wife, or my girlfriend, or my child. We've like numbed ourselves so much that we're just kind of living in this place of detachment. And I just want to offer maybe a different look at things, because this is really kind of how we think about death, right? It doesn't take like more than like a sign into your Twitter feed to just be like overwhelmed and bombarded with death and dying, unfortunate situations and circumstances all over the world. We're also
there's an activity that's done in with Stephen Jenkins, where it's this idea of you plan almost like you have 365 days to live, and you like plan out your life based on that. Like, what are the things you keep saying? One day, one day, one day, one day, one day. We live like that. You know, I think one of the biggest things in my life was what he's talking about, is really confronting the fact that we are limited in our time, and we're not here forever. And especially losing Alaska earlier this year, you always say like, oh, I'm only this age, or I'm only that way age, I have so much time. Not necessarily. We're just going to skip ahead a bit.
I'm doing the things that I'm doing and believe what I believe. If you don't know anything about the Baha'i faith, at its core, the Baha'i faith is the most recent world religion, where essentially we believe that God is an unknowable essence, and she has never left man without guidance. And the entire purpose of religion is simply to love and help us remember that this is not the end, that this is the beginning. And essentially, we believe that God sends a different messenger or a prophet or a teacher to humanity to basically help us evolve to one day live in unity, which I know are very far from right now. So that said, there was a central teaching of the Baha'i faith that is very much focused on the afterlife, which I will get into in a little bit. But growing up, I found, maybe it was because of my faith or maybe not, I was always drawn to the idea of wondering what happens when we die. And I remember being very, very young and having experiences with my grandparents or with other elderly people, and just being young enough to even remember and be cognizant of the fact that they were closer to death than I was, which is a weird thing for a young boy, I think, to even be aware of or to think about. When I would go visit my grandparents, you know, a lot of people like hated it. You know, a lot of kids my age were like, oh, you know, I got to go. And I remember looking forward to it in a lot of ways and asking them questions. And then I also remember every time I would leave, I would wonder if I was going to ever see them again. And it probably didn't help the fact that my grandmother was Jewish and always said I might never see you again.
I love, he's just like, he's such a captivating speaker, but he brings in such, you know, this like humor that's just very natural in how he speaks, even when he's talking about such important and profound topics.
Those with Jewish grandmothers know what I'm talking about. What? Literally, like, you might never see me again. Come here. But I had already been thinking about that. I had already been interested, and I remember asking them about their love and their marriage, and then later on, when my grandmother died, sitting with my grandfather and asking him how he fell in love, and just filming as soon as we had cell phone cameras that worked. I remember like taking it everywhere and asking questions and filming, and just being drawn to it, which I also realized was not necessarily a normal thing, because a lot of young boys, especially teenagers, would run from it. There was no vocabulary to even have a dialogue or a conversation with a young man about like death or dying, or grandparents and wanting to get to know them. It wasn't a thing. We weren't socialized to converse that way. This is my Uncle Louis. Well, he's not there. And he's not here. So, okay, we're going to just go back. Let's see if we can make this work. Here we go.
I have to appreciate the tech issues because I always have tech issues. So I appreciate you, Justin, and your tech issues.
Well, thanks, Uncle Louis. He was very funny. So he would like this, especially when you hear about the story I'm about to tell you. My Uncle Louis was going to be there, but because we'll talk about it later, I know he's messing with me right now. This was actually going to be a picture of me at my graduation in high school with my Uncle Louis. So I found out that my Uncle Louis...
So I apologize, guys. I know it's annoying when I have to break it up, but I do actually have to break it up. But I hope... My hope is that he brings more of these talks back and like really centers them again when he comes back. Not that he ever stopped, but just really bring it back to the forefront. And these are talks we need. They're talks that are critically important. And he's just so wise. And the fact that Blake and Ryan did what they did to him is just horrific.
Had stage 4 lung cancer when I was 20 years old. And I didn't get a chance to know him that well growing up. And he lived in Florida and we lived at the time in Oregon. And I remember again, this same feeling of I need to go. And I remember asking my dad, like, can we go see him? So I remember we flew there, we got to know each other, we spent a lot of time together. Golf was his religion. And it was just this kind of beautiful experience. It was my first experience getting to know somebody who was actually dying of a disease, not just of old age. A few months later, my dad called me. I'll never forget. He said, Uncle Louis only got days to live. He's in what they call hospice. And his wife, my Aunt Donna, wasn't doing very well. He said the family was struggling. And I'll never forget this moment. I just had this calling. It was like a prompting. And I said, Dad, I'm going to go. I just feel like I need to go. So I booked a plane ticket, and it was like a young kid saying, I'm going to go fight on the front lines, like a debate champion saying, I'm going to go join the army tomorrow.
So profound. I hate to, and I'll put the link actually if you guys want to watch the whole thing in the chat for you. Because it is so profound. I hate to skip through it, but I just want to give it's a half hour as it is. But such a profound talk.
It was my first experience watching somebody's soul leave their body. Holding his hand, he took his last breath. I looked over, and my aunt was just sobbing. And suddenly, in that exact moment, the song skipped. Halfway through the song, it just skipped on its own. And I looked over at my aunt, and her sad face had turned into one of joy. And she was laughing. Turned out the song that it skipped to was the song that they had their very first dance to. And there was no shuffle. It happened mid-song. It was unexplainable. And that rocked me. Like, I knew that there was more, but that just shook me to my core, right? This idea, like, how the hell did that happen? How did the song skip? And of course it was, and I was like, then I just let it go. And I said, all right, there's got to be something more to this. That experience would shape my entire life. And it's such, it's a huge reason why I'm here today. Every religion.
Just to pause there. Interesting. I not share your experiences if you've had similar experiences, my friends, but when, my grandma passed away, who was someone that was very important to me, her animal, like her spirit guide, if you will, was the snowy owl. And she gave me her snowy owl. Like she always said, like, I don't want my kids to have this. You have it. So she, she had Alzheimer's, and near the end, she was like, here you go. Like, take my snowy owl. And so it lives still in my house. And anyway, the day after she passed away, I saw a snowy owl for the first time ever. It's not that it's impossible to see them here, but it's very rare to see them here. And in the winter, they kind of move closer to my area, but it was like very rare. Never seen one in the wild before, saw one the day after. And then when Alaska passed away this year, the day after he passed away, I saw a snowy owl again. And I always say that like a snowy owl is a sign from the other side that they're letting me know they're okay.
Religion in the history of the world talks about death. Every prophet, every Messiah, every religious teacher, it's almost like we have been asked to prepare ourselves for this thing, but yet we don't really listen. We skip over the pages that talk about our death, and we go straight to like, how we can be happy or live a fruitful life. This is a quote I love. To consider that after the death of the body, the spirit perishes. It's like imagining that a bird in a cage will be destroyed if the cage is broken. That is essentially the Baha'i belief about life after death. But if you've noticed, we spend so much time here on earth in our lives feeding the cage and not the bird. I've made death a messenger of joy for thee, wherefore dost thou grieve? This is from Baha'u'llah, who's the prophet founder of the Baha'i faith. This quote has altered the course of my entire life. It's also really annoying. Because sometimes, I don't know if you guys have ever, those of you that are spiritual or religious, you read some of these scriptures and you're like, come on, like, give me the cheat code to feel this. As if we were a video game, right? Like, although Elon Musk does think that we are in a simulation. I will say that if we are in a simulation, there must be somebody or something, right, that's still organizing it. So I don't think that him and I are that far off in our beliefs either. What's that? The Architect, exactly. Yes, my favorite movie. I'm sure you and I can talk deeply about that.
Does anyone else want to have like a deep conversation with Justin? Like, I want to talk about like death and life and like spirituality and creativity and art. Like, I just want to sit with Justin and talk to him. I just don't understand how you meet this man and you're like, I need to destroy him. Seems like a good day to destroy someone that has used his life for good. Why not?
7 years ago, I was actually meditating on this, and I was in a really low point in my life, and my acting career had stopped. It was non-existent. And 3 a.m, I was thinking about this quote, and I wrote down a list of show ideas because I realized that I wasn't being of service. I had been feeding the cage and not the bird. And I wanted to figure out, like, what am I really doing here? And I'll never forget the 3 words that came up that I just knew once I wrote them down, were going to have a massive impact in the world. And they were My Last Days, a show about living told by the dying. And it came out exactly like that night. And little did I know that that would be the thing that I spent the next 7 years doing. I really believe that we need to find a way to change the conversation, to start a dialogue, right? Very much what we're all doing here today. How can we get the idea of dying into a mainstream conversation to hopefully start to influence the way that people live?
It's interesting because I've been drawn to this more and more, and I don't know the name off the top of my head, but someone that I knew ages and ages ago has been studying this and working within this field as well. And I think when we start to realize and start to really sit with, like, we're not here forever. So why do we keep pushing things off? Why do we keep saying one day? That was me when I was in corporate. It was like one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. Like, I want to do other things. I want to live my life. I want to be of service, very similar to what Justin says, but one day, one day, one day. And I was like, wait, what? I'm living now. One day is now. And part of this is a lot of the spiritual work I did as well in regards to living and dying helped me with that.
It was a conversation that we were afraid to have. And, at the time, this was 7 years ago, YouTube had just gotten started, and it was, basically cat videos and people making makeup tutorials.
I mean, it still is.
All kinds of things like that. And I was like, okay, well, let's make it YouTube. Like, yeah, let's do that. People will watch that, right? Little did we know that nobody was going to watch that. At least that's what they told me. We partnered with our good friends at Soul Pancake. It was one of their first shows, and we released My Last Days to the world. And I had met Zach.
My name is Zach Sobiak. I'm 17 years old and I have osteosarcoma. I've been told I have a few months to live, but I still have a lot of work to do. I want everyone to know you don't have to find out you're dying to start living.
So Zach's documentary, I'm going to go backwards real quick. Zach's documentary, the week he died, was seen by 10 million people. Zach wrote a song called Clouds, and he reached #1 on iTunes.
So I just want to, what does it mean feeding the cage and not the bird? So I do not know the depths of the Baha'i faith and how they would perceive that or explain it. So I don't want to speak for the Baha'i faith. From a spiritual perspective and spirituality perspective and the journey I've gone on, the bird is it the bird that symbolizes the human spirit and soul, and the cage represents the physical body, I believe, off the top of my head. So if you feed the cage, the physical body, but not the bird, the human spirit and the soul. So you want to start feeding this, again, not saying this is from the Baha'i faith. Oh, okay. Is it also in the Baha'i faith described like that? Perfect. Feeding the physical and not the soul. Okay, perfect. I just didn't want to speak for the Baha'i faith, but if that's the same, then perfect. Bird's the soul and the cage is the body, and that's what it sounds like to me too. Yes. Perfect. Okay, awesome. Yes. And that's what we do a lot of, right? And even from a nervous system perspective, so my background's in psychology and I'm working with people on their nervous system. It's like, well, of course you're stuck in a chronic state of fight or flight or freeze because we're so dissociated from the body, from soul, from spirit. And we're just stuck up in our head. We're stuck up in the physical aspect of life. And so it sounds like that's exactly what he's speaking to as well.
And became the first unsigned artist to ever hit #1 on iTunes the week that he passed away. He proved a theory that I had, that was, while we're all afraid to talk about it, we all have a desire to learn about it. And the thing about Zach that was so interesting was, while he taught us all how to live, right? In reality, what he really taught us also was how to die. And it was the first time that this joy, I really just saw like how death and joy could be seen in the same sentence. Now, what was so interesting, everybody told us that it wasn't going to work.
Thank you, Andy, for saying that too. Yes, but even from a living perspective, pursuing the material and the peril of spirit and mind, absolutely. Absolutely. And your body will store trauma. Yes, great book. The Body Keeps Score is a fantastic book. Absolutely.
Well, it did, because not only did it become one of the most watched documentary series in history online, it's now gone on to be a 3-night special on the CW every single year. The CW has basically told us that we will keep it on as long as you want because it's so important, and we believe that young people need to have this conversation. So the work that we are all doing here is wanted, despite what everybody tells us. People are hungry and thirsty for this type of content. Now, I'm gonna skip over. You can
see, and this is what I do, guys. Because if I create content just on that, it gets no views. So I bring it from the perspective of pop culture. I don't know if you guys have caught on, but I talk about serious topics from the lens of pop culture. I got you guys reading The Third Perspective. I got you reading Die Wise. We're talking about life and death, media manipulation, narrative control. I bring serious topics through the lens of pop culture. And I agree with him. I think our souls really are craving these types of topics, but we rarely actively search it out. We rarely actively go to YouTube and we're like, videos on living and dying. Like, who's typed that into YouTube or Google before? We rarely do. We don't type in, how can I die wise? But we might type in Justin Baldoni spiritual teachings or Justin Baldoni Baha'i faith or something like that, right? Or Justin Baldoni lawsuit news. And it just like it sparks something within us. And I believe that we're always exactly where we're meant to be. So someone that's ending up on my live and seeing these things, it might be a little seed that's planted today that doesn't sprout for 10 years, but at least I planted the seed. At least I planted the seed. Welcome, your first live heat. It's so nice to have you live and in the chat. We're still going 2.5 hours later because we live on sound bites and fast info. It takes energy to think. Absolutely. And that's what I've always said. I will trade that. You know, people ask, like, don't you want like the 10K, 20K, 50K? We live in a world where you grow faster the quicker you, or the more sound bite information and fast info you put out. And while I'm not against that, I'm certainly not against it. And you're going to see me get in little tizzies like I do when I read court documents. I'm not against sound bites. I'm not against fast info. And sometimes it calls for that. But my soul perishes and I'm not feeding the bird. I'm just feeding the cage, right? If I'm only going for clicks and likes and shares and the most viral and the person that's getting the most views on the content, like that's not soul nourishing to me. So one way I've found is most effective to bring more serious topics out is by infusing it with pop culture. And I love pop culture, so it's perfect. So I love talking about pop culture, and it has the ability to get people thinking in a new way, or at least plant the seed.
You can watch the trailer. It's all online. I was going to show you guys the trailer and get everybody crying. I'm going to skip over it because I want to focus a little bit just
thank you,
on
Kitty. You're the best.
Why this
You're
is so important
sweet.
and how hungry I believe that the general audience is. So over the last, there it is. All right, we're going to skip. So I've made 25 documentaries over the last 7 years. And every single one of these people exemplify the idea that you don't have to find out you're dying to start living. And what we found is...
How do you come for this man? I wish everyone that's accusing him of being, and I think some of the words are really catchy, kind of smarter branding, if I'm being honest, in his Man Enough and the toxic masculinity and that brand that he built. There are some words that are more catchy. It's smart though, because again, who is going online and searching Die Wise or something, or searching another great book, The Voice of Knowledge? Another great book. I saw somewhere, can I put together a reading list? I love reading lists. Are you kidding me? Absolutely. There we go. Book list, of course. These are the books I surround myself with at my desk, right? So The Voice of Knowledge, I've started again. I had brought a couple of quotes from it in, I think it was the Gene Keys video with Justin Baldoni, but another great book. I just think he's genius from a branding and marketing perspective of starting to intertwine words and ways of presenting the information in a way that gets it out and allows him to be of service on a larger scale.
Besides the fact that tens and tens and tens of millions of people, I think we were close to 100 million views overall, have watched this show, the letters that have poured in, people have written that they didn't commit suicide because they watched somebody that had so much less time with them choose to live so beautifully. It's become a cultural phenomenon, if you will. It's also one of the hardest shows that I've ever made in my entire life because it's not reality television. It's reality. This year was really hard. I lost 3 dear friends, and Claire Wineland was one of them. Claire, if you don't know Claire, I encourage you to Google her. She spent her time here. She had cystic fibrosis, basically speaking and trying to help people remember that death is inevitable, but living a life that we are proud of is something that's in our control, and that we all have the ability to make our life a beautiful piece of art. And
I just want to stop and let everyone sink with that. It's inevitable that we're going to die, yet it's a choice within our grasp to live. You know, how much are we living day to day? And that's something that I've been really conscious of, even with streaming. It's like after lunch, we usually have lunch between like 1 to 1:30. That's it. Like, even if you guys see me now, once I have my chicken onesie on, I'm not streaming. I don't care what kind of news is coming out. I don't care what kind of earth-shattering news Brian Freeman brought to us and is gracing us with. Once my chicken onesie's on, I'm done for the day. And it's just so that, like, I love doing this. I love being here with you guys, but I also need to live. And I love this so much that sometimes I can forget about that. Yay, a book list. You should start in book club for members or philosophical chat night. That is a great idea. I'm actually going to write that down. Would the members like that? Because y'all, I have 3 bookcases worth of books. 3. So if you guys, if the members are interested in that, I would love to do something. We can do a book club with like a philosophical chat night. I think that's a great idea. We shall do that. I will start putting that together. Thank you.
And she taught me so much. I encourage you to look her up, watch her documentary. Claire passed away after a double lung transplant from a complication.
I don't know what Discord is. I'll have to figure it out.
The thing about Claire
I'm old.
that's also
I'm
so
old.
special is that her memory is going to live on in a massive way, not just from her documentaries, but because through a conversation, she inspired what will become one of the first young adult movies where 2 teenagers with cystic fibrosis get to have conversations like this about their mortality on the big screen that I just directed, coming out in March all over the world. So which is really exciting. Again, it's just happening because people are hungry for it. And then we decided to turn the script into a book because we really believed that people would want to read about it and not just watch it. And then last week, it became a bestseller on its first week. So again, young people are thirsty and they're hungry.
So as asked the 4 agreements, it is by Don Miguel as well, but this one is the voice of knowledge. But I do also have the 4 agreements. Also a great book. Yes, when I tell you, I have bookcases upon bookcases upon bookcases of philosophical books, spiritual books. It's all the thing. I run 5 Discord servers. I'm going to have to look into it. I genuinely don't know what that is. I genuinely don't know what it is, but I will look into it, my friends. We will do that, though. I will put it together for members. We'll do a book club with philosophical chat night. I think that's a fantastic idea.
Trying to explain to a fetus, oh yeah, there's a solar system. Beings right here on Earth. We can't comprehend. Is a vast universe. This is my wife, and my son was actually in that belly when I took this picture. Can you imagine trying to explain to a baby in the womb what exists just outside of it? We're finite beings, right, here on Earth. We can't comprehend the infinite, just like a baby has no frame of reference to the magical world that's existing just outside of it. Imagine trying to explain to a fetus, oh yeah, there's a solar system, and like stars, and there's going to be air so that you can breathe with the, oh yeah, you've been developing lungs for 10 months, but don't worry. Like, we can't explain where, you could never do it. Not because it doesn't exist, but because we don't have the capacity to visualize it. And then one day, the baby's born into this life, but it dies from the womb. So what if our death is really just our next birth? And that's really, at the end of the day, what I wanted to talk about and what I wanted to just, drop on the group. Because I know that those of you already in...
What if death is just our next birth? I didn't mean for today to go so philosophical, but I mean, here we are. That is such a nugget to sit with for the rest of the day, my friends. What if death is just our next birth? Welcome, Andy. I'm so excited to do the book club with you guys. It's going to be amazing. I love this community.
And end of life are already thinking about these things. But this comes from a deep spiritual belief of mine. This idea that maybe this idea of death being a messenger of joy is also for the other side. In the same way that when my child was born, it was one of the most joyful experiences of my entire life. So maybe it's about shifting our thinking. And I want to end with a quick story that's a real picture of snot coming from my nose. When my daughter was born, we chose to have a home birth. And
oh, geez, not a home birth. Guys, we have a picture of a home birth. Sorry, now my channel is going to get taken down for corn. Blake Lively, you are insufferable.
My wife was in labor for 35 hours. And what's interesting is I've realized, having been through both experiences, how similar they are. hospice nurses,
You
midwives,
guys kill me.
doulas, death doulas, right? Hospices, birthing centers, even the language transition. It's an almost emotionally identical experiences. People waiting by their phones to figure out if it's happened. Families coming together. They're mirrors of each other, the spiritual and the physical counterpart. And as my wife was going through her experience, I was right there praying for my little girl and holding my...
You guys are going to now, I'm going to have lawsuits against me for SH for showing this image.
My wife and creating the experience and playing music, and we were dancing and trying to just create this amazing environment so that when my daughter went through her transition from the womb into this world, she was met with all the love that she could ever imagine that would set her up for her entire life. And as she came through and I brought her in and I put her in my ear and I said a quick prayer, I had this realization that this was not going to be the last time I greeted my daughter's soul.
Aww.
Because as she came through that tunnel into the light, and I got to be there welcoming her with love and with prayer, I knew that one day after I pass, I really believe I'll have that chance to be there on the other side welcoming her again. And that completely shifted the way that I think about death. So what I want to leave you all with is your work.
Okay, I'm just going to pause quick. We have 1 minute left, but man, I just get so enthralled in what he's saying. I struggle to pause. I'm going to definitely get a strike on this one. But I agree. I honestly don't believe that a mother of 4 would react to a home birth picture like it's corn. It's just wild.
It's so important. I know it's hard to talk about with people. I'm sure conversations are awkward when you tell them what you do for the most part. But if you have beliefs like this or experiences that are magical, like I had with my Uncle Louis, I want to encourage you to share them with the world, because we are hungry and we are more open now than we've ever been for answers and for solutions. Your work is important. I see you. And please join me in helping everybody learn how to be comfortable in the uncomfortable. Thank you.
Now I just want to cry, but like the most profound, beautiful cry. I don't know how you take out a man like this, to be quite honest. It just upsets me so much to my core on what they've done to him. But I would love, even on the replay, for anyone to share if you've had stories, like he said, share those stories from the other side. Another story I have, actually, 2 dogs that we've lost that were like children. I know that can be upsetting to hear that, but my dogs are like my kids. When Kira, years ago, long before you guys knew me, when she passed away, every time I took a picture for a week after she passed away, there was an orb, a green orb in all the pictures. And then when Alaska passed away, I'll actually post it on Instagram. So it's just my name, Ashley Brianna Eve, over on Instagram. I'll post it in my stories today. But after Alaska passed away for a week, that green orb was back for a whole week in pictures that I would take, especially pictures that had tundra in it. And almost felt like Alaska saying, like, it's okay to move on. It's okay to, now I'm going to cry, that it's okay to have tundra. But oh my God, that is such a profound talk. So now I'm crying. I'm not a crier, but I think it's just such a profound, important talk for all of us. And for anyone that stayed this long on for the more philosophical, spiritual talk, thank you for hanging out, because I love pop culture and I love breaking news and pop culture. And I love bringing, like, ultimately for me, it's more about bringing shady shit to the light. That's why I do the exposés. That's why I do the information on SEO and narrative control and media manipulation. It's more of like bringing that to light, but it's also important for me, for the channel to have light and for the channel to have depth and for the channel to be sparking conversation and for the channel to be challenging perceptions and really getting us to think about life and ourselves and others in a very different way. And that's the ultimate goal of the channel. And, I kind of like Trojan horsed it a bit with pop culture. Because look, I've been in the game long enough and I damn well know, just like Justin Baldoni knows, you put something up about dying wise and it gets 1 click. But if you know how to bring it in a way that is trending, like Justin Baldoni's trending right now, you can really spark such a beautiful conversation and have more ripple effects in the world. So I think that Justin and everything he's going through, what I want to continue to center and put to the forefront as well is a lot of the talks he's had and the beliefs he has, because by bringing up a lot of these talks that he's had previously, I just think it's such a platform to leverage the trending nature of his name right now to push to the forefront and bring into conversation a lot of his beliefs, spiritual conversations, philosophical conversations that I believe we all should be having and that we just really don't think about in a world that's fixated on clickbait, quick digestion. We are fascinated by negative and bad. We're fascinated by drama. Another great book, Addicted to Drama. Is it on my desk? One of my mentors wrote it. I'm going to have to get you guys a list, but it is somewhere in one of my money. But Addicted to Drama, another great book. We are addicted to drama. And what a beautiful way to kind of like I said, plant those seeds for even those that might be like, oh, whatever, spirituality, but intrigued because it involves Justin Baldoni right now. You know, it's my little part that I do in the world. And that's, if I was to be honest, the bigger point of my channel. And I love pop culture, so I frame it in pop culture. And I love pop culture. I know people love pop culture, so it's framing it in a way that actually gets it seen, ultimately. All right, so how are you guys feeling? Oh, thank you, Andy. You guys are amazing for being here. You guys are amazing. I appreciate you. Oh my goodness. I have so many. I actually died and came back, and now I experience so much weird things after losing my mom. It's crazy. I just felt someone pull my hoodie and no one's behind me. That is beautiful. It is beautiful. Because of the Baldoni case, I found you. Ashley, I'm so blessed to have found you. I'm the one that's blessed. Are you kidding me? To have such a wonderful community. I love your book list. You're doing my progression chart next Friday. I'm so excited. I love when you guys let me know ahead of time so I can put names to faces when we get on a call. I'm so excited. All right, so I will do that for you guys. I will put together a book list and I'll post it on my Instagram as well as in the community tab on here. Just give me like 24 hours to get that posted. And then I'll get together a book club for members. So if that's what you guys want, we'll get together a book club and we'll do like a philosophical chat, maybe a couple times a month where we get on, we can have more of like the philosophical talks and really dive into some of the books. Oh, I'm so glad you guys stumbled on the channel. I appreciate you guys. That's the best thing about creators right now. It brings us together. Yes. The other person's morals and ethics don't factor for people like Blake. I agree. They judge people like a predator. And the only two factors that matter is what do they have that I want? And if so, can I take it? Great point. And that is true. And that's what I think makes this community different as well. Is it really, because I don't just talk about trending news, and I do challenge a lot in what I say in terms of spirituality and philosophical chats, and we talk about gene keys and astrology and spirituality here. I think it just brings together such an incredible community of people. Thank you, Leo. Oh my goodness, you guys are the best. I mean, at the start of this year, had under 1,000, I think it was. But anyway, my friends, I'm going to leave it at that. I did not expect to stream for 3 hours today. This is also why I'm careful on how often I go live, because I get excited to talk to you and then we stream for like 10 hours. But it was such an honor and a pleasure to be here with you guys. So number one, I will get within the next 24 hours a book list up of like, I'll do 10 of my favorite books to start with. And then number two, we'll get the book club together for members. So I'll touch base with members on that as well. All right, my friends, thank you for being here. Thank you for being open to some of the more spiritual talks on top of the trending pop culture news. I appreciate you. And with that said, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.